I'm actually live. I did it. I'm on YouTube and everything. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the weekly Wednesday lunchtime live stream on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. I am DDO's community manager, Cordovan. It is the day after the 2020 U.S. election, and I'm sure everyone is completely awake and ready to rock. I bet many of you would like to not even think about it for the next hour. We're gonna do that. So thanks very much for watching, everybody. Really appreciate it. We've got some big news happening here on the DDO side because... See my fingers crossed? Okay, now that my fingers are officially crossed publicly, let me say this. I'm pretty darn sure we're going live with Fables of the Feywild tomorrow, and I have a feeling we may actually know... I may be able to answer that definitively, perhaps shortly after the live stream gets done at 1 o'clock Eastern today. But we'll find out. Either way, everything at this point, at this noon, looks like we're good to go. So most likely we're going good to go with Fables of the Feywild. Tomorrow morning, expect the downtime this afternoon. The release notes will be going up late this afternoon. And you can already pre-purchase Fables of the Feywild right now by going to ddo.com, click on the store, or the market, go to new expansions, and go check out Fables of the Feywild if you'd like to. We also have Night Revels going for an extra day because we pushed the downtime from what would have been today to tomorrow. Yesterday. Something like that. Anyway, so... we figured, hey, let's give ourselves another 24 hours of Night Revels, and I assure you it had nothing to do with the fact that I want to get my Ghost Touch augment on Arganesson, which is exactly what I'm going to be doing here right now. So let me turn off Mr. Beholder, and sir, where's my DDO? There we are. Say hello to Zentradi. Zentradi is currently a level 16 barbarian on Arganesson, does have just one past life, quick 34-point build. Where's that to? I can't remember what it is now. Basically, is topped out in Ravager. I just banked 17 as of running some of the Night Revel stuff yesterday, and I'm working my way up Frenzied Berserker here right now. And this character's been doing pretty well in these Night Revels quests, so I'm going to keep going on it. I basically just have this plus probably one more round across to do, and then I will have my Ghost Touch augment. So I figured let me just get some of that done on the live stream here today while we're talking about the news and getting to all of your questions and what have you. So should be pretty good time today. I'm giving myself a little bit of melee backup just to kind of help with aggro as much as anything, and a hireling healer just because, hey, I'm a barbarian. I've got potions and stuff, but, you know, I also have daily dice to do. Let me do that before we go live here. See if I get lucky. Not really. That's fine. Alright, let me drop my XSplit screen and take a look at chat here first. So I have a little bit more to talk about, a couple other news items I know, like Movember and Extra Life. That's why there's the no beard. Okay. Filed a bug report. Still no response. The Epic Trainer does not recognize my rogue has a high enough dexterity to take the class improved sneak attack. That obviously is not something I can troubleshoot. Good that you filed the bug report. I'm sure QA's been able to take a look at it. I'm not quite sure why it would say that. I would need to really take a look at all the specifics and get into that. So, yeah, no shave November. I guess since that seems to be the topic of the moment, let me just real quickly say welcome. Every year I raise money for Movember. I'm not yet announcing that here at the moment, however. Reason for that is that I am right in the middle of Extra Life, which I'm going to get to here in just a second, of course. But I wanted to say first that yes, I am taking part in Movember this year, and once the Extra Life game day and related things get done, I think either next week or the week after, depends on how it all goes. But what I want to do is start after I officially do all the Extra Life stuff, and then transition to Movember for a month, even though it doesn't really directly align to the month of November, because I can only handle one charity at a time, plus it just helps for all this stuff. So I am raising money, however. The URL, for those who care and want to donate already and are already like, yeah, I know what it's going to be stuff from the community loot list, etc., all of which is true, and you just feel like donating now, you can donate to the same place you donated last year. But if you want to do it more formally once I've made the announcement, then you're going to have to wait till I can get to it, which is going to be probably after November 15th. But it's true, right away on Sunday, I shaved all that facial hair off. And so that's where we are, right? And I'll be doing this, and I do this particularly because historically I have heard from a lot of DDO and Lotro players. Remember back in the day it was all DDO, but Lotro players too nowadays, who benefit directly from that work, have it impacted by, say, someone with prostate cancer or testicular cancer, and then in particular, and especially as it relates to the work I do in the communities I try to serve, etc., I think that Movember's mental health focus is one of the absolute most critical things that keep me coming back to this year after year, because a lot of us dudes just don't. Yeah, I know it's an archaic way of thinking, blah, blah, blah. It still is the way people think in a lot of ways. So, and there is a problem with a lot of us dudes reaching out for help and talking to each other and all that sort of thing. And I think that that is an important part of what Movember is about. And so that's one of the main reasons I keep doing it year after year, because it's important to me. And I'll be having more information about that then in the coming weeks. However, we have another big thing happening, and that's actually the thing I wanted to talk about right now, which is that this Saturday, we are going to be blowing things out on DDO Stream on Twitch. So twitch.tv/DDO Stream. I think just trying to do to managing all the streams and everything, we're not going to be multi-streaming on this one. It's just going to be on Twitch. And I think we're even going to put a little thing in the launcher and stuff, so that means big crowds. And we're going to be blowing it out for our Extra Life Game Day. That is this Saturday, November 7th, from noon to midnight Eastern. There may be a few hours of breaks in between. I can't do 12 hours on both DDO and Lotro, clearly, at the same time. And I'm coordinating community streams, because the rest of the DDO streamers and Lotro streamers are taking part as well. And so we're going to be doing all that this Saturday, so roughly noon to midnight Eastern, with maybe a few breaks in between. I or someone else from DDO Stream will be on Twitch raising money for Extra Life, and that is extra-life.org/team. Let me make sure I got it right this time. I'm pretty sure it's Standing Stone Games. No, team/SSG. Team/SSG. And I will, let me take care of this battle quick so I don't die. And then put something else on the screen. I'll just put the Extra Life page up and you'll hear all the combat sounds. And then let's return in like 2 minutes and see if I'm still alive, huh? Yeah, that is pro gameplay. In case you are wondering what these messages are about, I spent a couple of points in the DDO store to pick up one of the Droughts of Midnight. The reason I'm doing that is that way I don't have to worry about getting the Darkest Chocolate that I need for the Ghost Touch Augment without having to run the Wilderness area, and I can just get it from the quests, the challenges here, while I'm getting my ingredients for the Ghost Touch Augment. I also will admit, for some reason, I'm not doing a lot of grinding on, oops, there we go, where's that thing? There's that thing. For some reason, I am not doing a lot of grinding of keys. I don't know, I guess I'm just purchasing some available keys in the DDO store, like you might want to do if you're running low on keys and you've got just a few hours left. I'm just doing it that way because I can. You don't have to. You can actually, if you farm in the landscape, both of these problems are non-issues. I am simply trying to maximize my time in the last 24 hours here and get it done. Which is why I'm doing that, which is why you're seeing those messages that you probably don't normally see. You can also actually, I believe, buy those draughts using darkest chocolates and things from the vendor in Delaras if you want to. But I am just taking the fast route because I want this Ghost Touch Augment, and it goes away most likely tomorrow morning when we go down for Fables of the Feywild. So there we go. I'm basically... Overall, the Ghost Touch Augment, as long as I'm running 5 levels above, it is largely 2 sweeps through that. I will get most of the way there on this first sweep, and then I'm going, some of the shorter quests award half as many of the almonds, I believe it is, right, this year? And so the almonds quests I'm going to have to enjoy twice as often. But the rest of them I can basically just tear through twice and be done with it. And then I got my thing. And I basically got to this point after playing 45 minutes or so yesterday, running through the point of getting up to Hayward. And then these last ones are kind of the longer quests. And so that's, I'm just saving that for the live stream here while I do whatever else I'm doing. Like, talk to you about things. I don't really get all that much, honestly, from that. Uncanny dodge, but I figure it just doesn't hurt. So if you see me pushing it a lot, it's not that I actually get much benefit from it, it's just that it doesn't hurt. And it's just sitting there, and I have it anyway, so... I'm currently banking 17. I could take 17, but I actually kind of like the balance I'm at between the hit points and challenge of the mobs and my ability to dish out damage. It's been working pretty well so far. I've been kind of tearing through some of these things. And so I haven't really felt the need to want to perhaps mess with the balance of that by taking level 17 and then going up to CR 22 on the dungeons. I just recently hit 17, so I'm not really in danger of capping out my XP, so I've just been doing that. Alright, let me get back to chat here. Alright. Any news on the Von 6 issue? So, the Von 6 issue is that Von 6 has had to be temporarily closed due to an issue that cropped up with the release of Update 47 that prevented... sorry, let me get my brain on. That prevented the center platform from properly opening up once the side pillars have been destroyed. We have a fix-in for that, and that should be coming in the near future. I will need to double check if that is in for Update 48 here, Fables of the Feywild, or not. I think it's not, and I think that's because it's not quite done yet. But I will double check. I could be wrong about that. That was kind of one of those things that was floating towards the end there in terms of whether it was going to make it. So I will double check on that. But at the very least, it'll be in the very near future afterwards. And so that should reopen here pretty soon, I think. Have we considered adding alcohol to the game? With inebriation effect, your dwarf is getting tired of dirty kobolds. So, like the actual game effects do happen in the other Standing Stone Games games. So I know that, you know, there is at least some behind-the-scenes system stuff for inebriation. However, I would point out that DDO has largely been T for teen over the years, rated by the ESRB, largely because of two reasons. One, there's a small amount of blood. Two, there's a small amount of alcohol. And so I think that historically, I don't know that there's actually a lot of demand among the community to have a deeper gameplay of inebriation in the game. But I think that that is theoretically something that could happen if there was enough interest in the future, although I really just don't see us doing that. Plus, I'm not actually sure that you could take one from one game to the other. Oftentimes you can't. In this particular case, that means at least something, there would be something for the DDO team to look at, for example, were they to want to implement it on their side. Speaking of the DDO team, StrimTom just today released an interview that we did just recently with him about Fables of the Feywild. That got released this morning, so if you're waiting around, say during our downtime tomorrow or this afternoon while you're doing your last-minute night revels and want something to check out, that might be the right thing. You can, let me see, I bet I actually can call up the... Yes, I actually can call up the URL, so I'm going to drop that into chat. You should probably watch that instead of this, but let me just say no, you should stay here and watch me instead, and learn a whole bunch about Fables of the Feywild this afternoon. So thanks, StrimTom, for that interview. I thought it went pretty well. We have other interviews lined up, at least one more that I'm aware of here in the coming days. So we should have some good stuff to talk about in that front as we release Fables of the Feywild. Oh, I know what I can do. Shoot, I forgot to get it ready for the show today. I can't believe sorry. I had a really awesome, amazing thing. And I was going to get it ready for the show today so I could brag about it and show it off. And then I forgot to get it ready because I was messing with another slightly different thing before I went live today. So, and I will explain what I'm talking about here in just a second. So first off, I wanted to mention, I can't remember which game side I had mentioned I was going to do this. It may not have been DDO, but I know on the DDO side in the past I have discussed. What am I forgetting here? I hit that lever, didn't I? So maybe just the other side here. Okay. So, I've talked in the past about the PlayStation controller compatibility with DDO and how I've made it compatible years ago in the past. I just tried it this weekend to get a DualShock 4 going with the PlayStation... the PlayStation 4 controller going with DDO to see if I could get it working like I did a couple of years ago. And the answer ultimately was I could not. However, I did want to... what am I missing? So this is what I get for talking while I do this. I've completely lost something I'm supposed to have done. Shoot. Okay. Back this way. Okay, here we go. Think. Yeah. All right. No. No. Okay. So what did I miss then? Oh, root on the wall where the weep spawned. Thank you. Thank you. See, that's the problem, is you kind of go coasting through the game like this, and then you run into a snag, and then you're like, oh, crap. What did I actually not do? I wasn't paying attention because I was on default while I was blah, 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 blah. And that's how you end up in the situation that I have just found myself in. Walking back to a rune I should have spotted that I hadn't done long ago. But I was in the middle of talking about DualShock 4 compatibility with DDO, and ultimately I ran into a critical failure. However, I think it is a critical failure eventually that I will be able to overcome, and so I wanted to talk about it briefly with you today. That being... Oh, right there. Thank you. I had everything working with one exception. And what that exception was that when I tried to map the L2 and R2 buttons of the DualShock 4, that is the trigger buttons essentially on the PlayStation 4 controller, I could not get it to deactivate once pressed. So I wanted, and as made sense previously, and it works in general, R2 is attack, L2 is defense. But the problem I ran into is some kind of compatibility issue that I previously had not run into, which is why I think it has something to do with X input or something like that, where instead of being a trigger, it shows up as an axis, which is fine, except that for whatever reason, it is not deactivating when pressed. So, for example, you try to attack and then you can't not attack without essentially logging out and then back in. Sometimes you can get it to proc otherwise, but you get kind of stuck there, right? So that that's the issue I ran into. Otherwise, I had it working really, really well. And I would largely use the left stick for movement, right stick for turning in camera, you know, L2, R2 attack, defense. The L1 button was a modifier key, and so then I would use the square, circle, triangle, cross to do 1 through 8 of the hotbars. L1 plus the same for 5, 6, 7, 8. Worked really well. I think I actually might have... Oh, yay! Oh, there we go. Great. Anyway, it worked great other than that one failure. So part of the reason I'm bringing this up is so that if there's anyone out there who is like, I ran into that issue and here's how you solve it, please do let me know, because otherwise I had it actually going quite well. Let me also just quick say part of the reason why I was doing that is because I happen to have in my hands one of these, which is the new PlayStation 5 controller. And I'm working on PC compatibility with that right now. Currently, it's not particularly compatible because the PlayStation 5 drivers are not yet formally available for the PC. You can get it you can get it to work through Steam. But for the most part, it just isn't working yet. And it won't until launch day. But I do have one of those, and it is ultimately largely the same as the DS4 in terms of button layout. So I figured as if I could get the DS4 working with DDO and Lotro, then I would be most of the way there to then working with the PS5 controller, which was my ultimate goal. But without that issue resolved, I think I'm kind of dead in the water, to be honest, on that. Unless someone out there maybe's got a good solution for me. I have tried, by the way, for those who are into this sort of thing, I have tried using X input mapper, which is a great general PlayStation controller to PC compatibility software program, kind of an open source thing. It works quite well. With the same issue that I just discussed. The advantage, and the reason you might want to use it for otherwise compatibility with your PC, is that it allows you to use the DualShock 4 touchpad. You know, that kind of mousepad, laptop-style touchpad thing that's on the top of the controller, as a regular mouse. Which, for general DDO compatibility, is great because anything that you use very infrequently, or that you might run into while using compatibility with the joystick, you can just solve by using that as a mouse cursor. So that was actually kind of cool. And but I still ran into that one issue, and so I'm not sure what happened there. I ran into a different issue on the other game side, but because I am not talking about one game on the other's channel, I'm not going to get into that right now. Perhaps on Friday, if you really, really care, you can check it out over on the Livestream side. Alright, so I have talked Extra Life. I've talked Extra Life Game Day. That's really cool. Let me, by the way, mention that we have just destroyed our Extra Life goal this year. It happened early. But we're just keeping on going, keeping on. So there's still plenty of time to donate. You have until November 15th, if you'd like, to donate. And we do have some, incentives, things that we're giving away on November 15th. You can find out more about that over on the DDO forums if you want to read a little bit more about that. So that's a possibility for you. Otherwise, I talked about Feywild. I talked about Night Revels. I mentioned the interview we recently did with Streamtom. Mentioned that we got some more stuff coming here in the near future. I will get to your questions here in just a second once I've kind of got my chat sorted out. All right. That feat can only be taken at level 21 or 24. Okay. Someone is saying also for the person in chat, make sure to go see Fred. Can take that feat at level 21 or 24. Also, hey, Eric, Ralph, and everyone over on YouTube, I'm really glad to be able to broadcast normally to you this time. So let me just say, someone there is using a Logitech wireless controller, been using it for more than 5 years now for DDO with no problems. That's cool. November Shave Challenge. Yeah, I do have a page for donations. I'm not promoting it yet. I'm getting done with Extra Life first. Nonetheless, I'm still taking part in November. Once I get it sussed out, I will release the instructions to the wild for other people to use. That's from Loaf Beef. Sure, but that's... Why someone would work hard to use inferior controls? Inferior controls! Why, young whippersnapper, you... No, it's fine. I like PlayStation controllers. I might have been using them since the 1990s. I was using them before you were even born, you young little whippersnapper, and you tell me my controller sucks. No, it's fine. Personal choice. I've been a DualShock person for most of my gaming life. So, that's why I use it. I have also not been a fan of the other guys. The other people's controller. So, neener neener. Nonetheless, part of my thinking on why I'm actually doing this in an informal way is that I have a suspicion there may well be an influx of extraneous PlayStation controllers, PlayStation 4 controllers available in various households once new consoles arrive, and then people try to figure out what to do with their old ones. One clear option might be, I don't know, can I hook it up to my computer, laptop, whatever, and use it to play DDO? Currently, the answer is no, but I'm hoping to be able to make it a yes in the near future once I figure out what's going on there. Prior to going live today, I messed around with the mouse sensitivity settings in the DDO key mapping, and that had no effect. However, I think the actual issue may be in the Windows settings, so I have a feeling if what ultimately will probably be decreased temporarily the mouse sensitivity settings in Windows 10. I wonder, my current working theory is to see if that has an impact on this issue I have encountered inside of DDO key mapping L2 and R2 and getting them to deactivate once activated. This happens both using and not using Input Mapper. You no longer really need Input Mapper anymore for DualShock 4 compatibility. It is largely plug and play at this point, unless you're trying to do some specialized things, like get it to work perhaps for certain games that don't by default get them to work, like say MAME cabinets or older computer games, or things that aren't formally set to recognize, PlayStation 4 controllers, like, say, Dungeons & Dragons Online. Alright, I think I've actually caught up on YouTube here. Let me get back to Twitch chat. Strimtom, you've done some playtime on DDO with the PS4 and Nintendo, but it was always using X-Patter to map the buttons easier. Okay, well, I mean, that's something I can look into. My hope was to be able to come up with a situation that is largely plug-and-play by default. That way I don't have to have as part of the instructions, okay, get this weird thing that you've never heard of, but is totally fine, I assure you. And they are totally fine. But still, I want it to be like, just plug it in, it'll recognize on your Windows 10 device, and this is what you do to keymap DDO or keymap the controller for DDO. And then ultimately, my plan is to be like, here's a pre-filled out version of the user preferences INI file with personal information that you would then choose to fill out on your own should you wish, and then just copy that sucker into your documents folder and call it done. Alright, where am I? Jerry wants you to get off his 8-bit lawn. That lawn just had blast processing assigned, it's placed on it. After you blast process your lawn, you got to give it at least 24 hours. Alright. Buy myself a gamepad. I could. Ultimately, though, I don't really feel much of a compelling need to play DDO with a controller, so this is more because I'm that kind of nerd than anything else. But there is some benefit to me in being able to do that for DDO for a couple of specific reasons. One is work-related. Let's say, for example, in the future, we are in a position where we're showing off something in DDO to a group of people in, I don't know, say a hotel conference room or something of that nature. Being able to sit with a wireless controller and just enough to get the job done, to move around the characters, show off the world, do whatever it is you need to do. There's some benefit to being able to do that. Additionally, I am thinking ahead for some weird and quirky personal reasons. Things like, I don't know, getting it to work with my Atari VCS if that thing ever shows up, which runs by default Debian Linux. I think I should still be able to get it working. Oops, what am I doing? Where did I go? What am I doing? Here we go. But I'm actually probably going to get a copy of Windows 10 for it. So if I can get a copy of Windows 10 on, say, the VCS, and then just map a PS4 DualShock controller to it, then I'm all set. Just kind of quick do whatever I'm away from the keyboard needs might happen in the future then for are particular games that I work for. So that's ultimately part of my thinking on this is that kind of weird one-off / personal reason to get a DualShock 4 controller working. But I think also culturally there may just be some interest in it, in addition to just general compatibility curiosity. So... All right, let me just double check, make sure I'm not completely missing things. That's true. We do actually have a drinking contest with the Beholders in Delirium. Oh yeah, yeah, of course we do. So we actually already have the dilatory effects of inebriation to some extent coded into the game. Although I don't know that could just easily be brought over. I'm pretty sure that's sort of like in this little area specifically. But we'll see. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that. ETA and Feywild. Stay tuned. We'll have more information in the very near future about that. My guess is we're on the cusp of it being tomorrow. I expect that it'll most likely be tomorrow. And we'll have a formal announcement about our release for Fables of the Feywild here in the coming hours. Probably mid-late this afternoon. Everything will get published and live on the website, including things like, say, release notes, what have you. So... You could just plug and play with the Xbox controller. If you've got an Xbox controller and they clearly make themselves compatible with the PC, in a way that Sony for years was not able to. Whatever. I'm not getting into it. It doesn't really matter anyway. But, it's true. Like, if you have an Xbox controller, most of this is a non-issue for you. You can just play DDO fine by key mapping it that way. I personally do not have one of those controllers, however, and I'm unlikely to get one in the near future, so it's just not something that I can personally speak to. When can we get keyboards implemented into our minds to play by? So you see that sometimes on sci-fi movies, right? Let me turn on my auto attack so I'm at least not just taking the hits. And people go and like some kind of invisible hollow keyboard. I bet that's hard to actually do. Like if accuracy was important and you needed to hit keys, I bet those keys would have to like be the equivalent of like this big. Otherwise, can you imagine trying to... Whoops. Yeah, so... However, maybe future us will already solve that problem, so it will be a non-issue. I agree, Nimvint. Yes. I'll check out that Azeron thing. I've heard the name before, so it's certainly, nothing that's like brand new to me in terms of a brand name or anything. I haven't really missed, like I say, for the most part, if I'm going to use a controller to play these games or for general other reasons, it's going to be something I have already rather than something I'm going to be getting. That's just how it's going to roll for me. But I'm sure it's a good product and everything, so. All right. Professional gamer Jerry, nope, not seeing it. So we've got 15 minutes left in the show, and I feel fairly good about getting caught up on something. By the way, Rodrigo Mora, I do see your name on Facebook chat. Looks like you have run into a purchase cannot be completed issue. That's not something I'm going to be able to troubleshoot over Twitch chat, or Facebook chat rather. But what I can do is direct you to make sure you have a ticket into account support, and that would be an email ticket to account support through help.standingstonegames.com. So if you go to help.standingstonegames.com, they can work through your purchase not completed issue. There's a whole bunch of things that it can be. I would suggest one possibility might be to try using PayPal. We've had historically some pretty good luck as PayPal being an option for people who are running into purchase not completed issues due to whatever currency, banking, credit, or other reason might be causing that purchase not completed message to display. As some folks are aware, most of our geographic payment issues have been taken care of by this point. However, there are some that we have no control over, and those are basically payment issues as directed by the U.S. Department of Commerce based on tariffs and other kind of government restrictions that is imposed upon U.S.-based payment processors. So you'll note that some payment forms perhaps that you can use elsewhere may not be available in the new DDO market, and some of that is related to that, which is, all of that payment processing is done according to things that certain standards that we have no control over, and some of that has been a change that we are unavoidably required to not be able to influence. However, some of that over the initial days following launch was something that we did have the ability to influence. And in those cases, you should now have your problem resolved. However, Rodrigo, who is in our Facebook chat concerned about a purchase not completed issue, I don't know specifically what might be the cause of your issue, which is why I think, and for anyone else who might be having a purchase flow related issue with getting the new expansion pack here in the coming 24 hours, you'll need to get in touch with customer support through help.standingstonegames.com for assistance. So I'm calling up a hireling real quick, just making it quick. Any news about hardcore transfers? That's something I can talk a little bit about. So at one point in the history of Hardcore Season 3, yesterday would have been the last day to transfer your characters from the hardcore server. That's completely irrelevant at this point. We're not doing anything like that. And at this point, we have no ETA as to when we're going to do a server wipe or anything like that. So, should be just fine there. Let me say, though, however, because there are people who is like, okay, fine, but I still want to get my character off there, so when can I do that? You'll be able to do that in the near future. However, we have other work that had to be prioritized above it. And since we have no actual immediate plans to wipe the server, because we're not going right away into the next season of Hardcore or anything like that, it can wait until resources are available to get the work done. So that's the current state of things, is transfers from the hardcore server are currently not available, and that was temporarily shut down because of an issue where we were having too many transfer issues from characters going from the hardcore server. So while we're working on to resolve that issue, we temporarily disabled transfers from the hardcore server. That should be reopening, hopefully, within the relatively near future, at which point we'll do something like, I don't know, give you another 30 days or something like that to get your characters off hardcore before we would do any further action on the hardcore server. There will be a hardcore season 4. That's all. That's pretty basically all guaranteed. I mean, you know, everyone seemed to have a good time. The numbers were good, as it were. People had fun. We had fun. Everyone seems to have had fun with hardcore season 3. And so it's likely we'll be doing a season 4. We're not rolling right into season 4, though, following the, you know, closure of season 3, clearly by this point, being as it's November already. So we're taking a little pause while we get, say, Fables of the Feywild out, do a whole bunch of other work that we have to do, and then probably in early 2021 or something have more to say about hardcore. But we'll see. We'll see where we end up actually falling on that. You know, actually, I can just... I don't actually need to do this. So I'm not going to, for the purposes of getting done in time. All right. Okay, Samus has an issue. Also, hello Samus, you'll be going live in about 10 minutes or so. You have an issue with some arrows from your TR recovery mail that are locked in your backpack or in TR cache. I suspect that is going to be an issue that someone specific to our engineering team is probably going to have to manually do some work on your character there. There's something we've occasionally had to do over the years. Doesn't happen too often, but occasionally. I suspect that's an issue probably where the arrows, for whatever reason, are listed or are in a deprecated state, and so are not able to cleanly get removed from the TR cache. That's my guess. Pure guess. We'll see. But you can get that addressed by getting in touch with in-game support. They should be able to, it's going to take a while, but they will be able to, I believe. You'll want to provide them with the character name, server, the history about the TR issue, and eventually that'll make its way most likely to one of the game engineers, who will have to call up your character and figure out what's going on, and then perhaps run a few things, do some manual surgery, as it were, to correct. Or it could be something real simple that I just don't even know. But either way, that's something that they'll be able to sort out for you. How's that for a range of... The raid is not being released in Update 48. Yeah, that's correct. That's listed on the Feywild page. But just to make sure everyone is aware that we are not releasing the raid with Fables of the Feywild immediately. It'll be coming in a patch in the future. And your purchase of the Fables of the Feywild will grant you access to that content when it's released. Robot hands like Ghost in the Shell. I know what you're talking about. Yes. You would need something like that for these virtual future keyboards of which we are all going to virtually type. Speaking of the future, let me look back on the past briefly, since we've got about 5 minutes left of the show. Sometime next week, I recently realized that sometime next week, it will have officially been 10 years since I was lucky enough to have an opportunity to work for Dungeons & Dragons Online with then Turbine, and all the way to today, now SSG. So next week will be my 10th anniversary working essentially on these products. I was very lightly involved with Lotra back in the day, but a little bit. You know, I helped out here and there. But nonetheless, this position that I have found myself in began 10 years ago after a brief stint of unemployment. I was unemployed for about 4 months. I had chosen at that time to, at least temporarily, no longer work in broadcast radio news, which is what I had been doing for about 10 to 15 years prior to that point. Part of that comes up when we see things like these 2020 US elections, because there was a time in my life, a very long time in my life, where I would have been working, say, something like 48 hours straight to do the kind of work that I now see from a distance. And so, you know, I am both fortunate, super fortunate and lucky to be able to do what I've been able to do over the years. I don't, oops, what did I do wrong? Okay, oh, that's why. Okay, yeah, and I don't take it for granted. I want to thank all the people back in the day in 2010 who gave me an opportunity, because I was not working in the games industry, gave me that chance, and I'm forever grateful to Megan and Amanda, and I mean, just the DDO team, Fernando, Kate, Rob, and I'm sure 1,000 names that I could name, for ultimately letting me be in a position to be able to do what I am now doing 10 years later. So thank you, everybody, for allowing this. I know, you know, sometimes I take a lot of hits, and that is part of the job, and that is part of the job that, you know, you just have to accept to some extent. And so I know that there are some of you out there who are like, oh God, can we make it only 10, you know, or whatever, right? And but it means a lot to me to have been given this opportunity, and I do want to let you know that I don't take it for granted, and I do very much appreciate my ability to be able to do this for you. Uh-oh. This could get hairy. Oh, God. Ah! Oh, my God. Ooh, hey, good timing on that one. All right. But, you know, I came to this position from a place of passion for the teams that I saw making mostly Dungeons & Dragons Online at the time, but even back then I was aware of the passion that was going on throughout the studio for all the games that they were working on, Asheron's Call and Lord of the Rings Online. And so being able to, I still can remember coming from being a player of Dungeons & Dragons Online for a little over 4 years at that point, to being able to walk into the then Turbine office and sit at a desk working then the lowest of a fairly large department of community people. And slowly over the years, finding myself nowadays in the position that I am today. It's been a long, strange trip, as they say, and I am so happy to be able to do it. So, and getting stranger all the time. Oh my god, you can't wait till you see Feywild. Oh my god, it's the bomb. So, you know, not everyone can say that I officially said, you know, for work reasons today, that I need to get on my unicorn and ride to the bank. But I get to say that. And not everyone can. And not everyone would know what the heck I'm talking about, but all of you do. All of you do. I don't actually need to kill this guy, so I'm not going to. Bonus days. I don't know. Let me see if I can call that up real quick. I may not be able to, but we'll see. Hey, obviously I should give a shout out to DDOcast as well, which is something that made all of this possible for me personally. And I think certainly didn't hurt some other people as well, being able to sort of make some inroads there. So I really appreciate it. And also, thank you, Rodrigo. I did address your purchase cannot be completed issue on Facebook earlier. Hopefully you're hearing this and get in touch with help.standingstonegames.com. I do see you active again in Facebook chat. I was so busy yesterday, I didn't get started on the Chronicle. So, let us see. What do we got? Let us learn together what is going on. We have got... Double check the date. Yep, double Mysterious Remnants. So that means there is twice the chance for Mysterious Remnants to appear when you defeat a champion. That'll kick off tomorrow. Basically, I'm going to go up for the live stream, or for Feywild, and then go through Sunday. Let's see if... I don't think I'm there yet, but let me just double check. One run through of all of these. I didn't have any leftovers. One run through gets me the Ruby of Ghostbane on Night Revels. That is an awesome way to wrap up the stream. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to sharing DDO with you in the near future with Feywild and all sorts of good things. Samus Garobo's up next. Join us on Saturday, twitch.tv/DDO stream for our Extra Life Game Day Marathon. You can learn more at extra-life.org/team/SSG. Have fun, everyone. Talk to you again next week. If I can figure out how to... where my XSplit is. Where are you, XSplit? In the meantime, see, if this was if I was a reporter covering the 2020 election on television, I would just have to be sitting here going, Back to you, John. And then after that pause, because the camera person was spilled their coffee, you just sit there going, oh, da-dum, da-dum, da-dum. Bye-bye, everyone.